Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Osajie Oboh with us today. Oz is CEO and co-founder at Cutbox. He's an entrepreneur, an ultra endurance athlete just like myself. So it's gonna be a fun one. In the greater Coventry area, his startup Cutbox is in London. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. It's going to be a very entertaining one. So this podcast is brought to you by podpar.com. If you want to start and monetize your pod, it is also brought to you by Qualia Mind, which is a supplement that I take to optimize my performance as a busy executive. You can go to neurohacker.com/CEO wisdom. Oz, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, thanks very much, Charles. It's great to be on. Yeah. So I'm Oz. My background is I started out doing engineering. I've always been into startups and business. I've always wanted to make a big consumer brand. I think I was inspired by reading that book by Phil Knight, Shoe Dog Knight, about Nike. I thought to myself, I want to go on a journey similar to that. It's going to be really hard and pretty brutal, but definitely worth it. And then yeah, since then I've started a couple of businesses, but what I'm doing at the moment, Cutbox, has been the most successful and the fastest growing, and what I think is going to be the best, the one for the future.
So I interviewed an entrepreneur, a Swedish entrepreneur that exited his barbershop chain business about a couple of years ago. He had like more than 200 salons, and he really systematized it to the dot in his business. So he basically brought the 15 minutes haircut from Japan to Sweden, and yeah, he had a big exit overall. And that got me curious, like why a barbershop business? It seems like a basic business, but everyone needs a haircut every once in a while. So that's the logic, is like cash flow. Then you're bringing a tech aspect to it. So where did you get the ideas and what's your edge?
Yeah, I mean we started as a software business, and I was doing a lot of the sales in it. It was kind of a software as a service product for barbershops. And as I was doing the sales, I started to get a picture of the market. And you can very quickly see that the industry was traditional and there's no major player. So there's no, like in the UK, we have like gym, like Pure Gym, you look at coffee chains like Starbucks, these kinds of brands. There's nothing like that in there. So then that begged the question, okay, why not make one? So I actually looked abroad. I saw the Swedish one. I think it's called Cutters, and a few others that have worked abroad. I thought, okay, let's try and do that here. So that was really the idea behind Cutbox. The fact is, ultimately, everyone needs a haircut. It's a recession-proof product, which is definitely pertinent in today's day and age. Maybe not when we first started, but it certainly is now. And it is something that you can end up becoming a household name if you make it big enough. I've seen brands like Regis Salons, they've got thousands of stores, Tony and Guy, all like worldwide in the women's industry. So thought we should do that in men's.
Yeah, and it's still a cool experience as a man. It's like going at the spa, plus when you get out, you have a nice looking haircut. So it's like an experience. It's a place where you go to relax and chit chat, in this stress-filled world, and coming off the back of COVID, in which you couldn't, meet people physically and so forth. So I get that concept. It seems to me that, yeah, there's a lot of expenses too, like just these barber chairs, like they go for 1,000 each, and then all these products and these fancy clippers and so forth. This big business you just mentioned with 1,000 salons, what is their edge? Like, did they get a huge injection of capital? Is it that they're operationally very clean? How did they grow that big that fast?
I think it's a combination of being operationally clean and taking the time, having the perseverance to go through, get it right. This is a very old company. It's talking sort of 40 years or something. But that's kind of what it takes to build something that big. So I would say that's really their edge. And then over time you kind of build a brand name. and people then just start associating getting a haircut with going to your particular brand.
And on your side as a CEO, do you feel you have an edge with like all the ultra endurance stuff that you do? Like, how do you bring that mentality to your business, and what has been the result of that?
Yeah, I feel there's definitely an edge with that because um ultimately when you're doing business, you have to move forward despite there being a lot of setbacks. You're trying to bring order to something that is naturally chaotic. So in order to do that, you have to put in a lot of energy, and it's almost like the system has a general entropy that's trying to stop you from achieving what you want to achieve. So you have to have the perseverance and the will to push through. You get all kinds of setbacks, things that you would not, things that you absolutely would not expect, and you just have to deal with it and keep moving forward, really. So I think that's something that endurance sport teaches you in a big way.
So you recently finished the haute route, that is 588 kilometer in 5 days in a whopping 14,000 meters elevation. For those that are not in endurance sports, that's a fuck lot of climbs basically, which
Yeah.
murder your lungs, murders your brain because there's not a lot of oxygen. I recently did a Spartan Ultra in Ciudad de Mexico, which is 2,000 meters elevation. So
Oh wow.
lots of headaches in the process. But tell us about that event specifically. What did you learn from it? And yeah, also tell us about like what other things you've done and how that has shaped your mind to the next level.
Yeah, I think with the oat route, that was a really interesting one because I signed up to that at the beginning of this year. And it was also during that time when, my workload in terms of my work life was also kind of going through the roof. I was doing a lot of work as well. So I had to figure out how to train for this thing. I'd never done a pure cycling race before. So it's always been like a triathlon, something like that, or maybe a running race. So that was quite intimidating. So I didn't really know what to expect. But I've got a really good coach. He's from Norway, so he does sort of Norwegian training methodology, and we put together a good plan, like a good set of training, a few good training blocks. Um, mixing in things like intervals, VO2 max sessions, just getting used to churning away, trying to put out loads of power on the bike, going up a long climb, basically. So we did a lot of that, and there was a lot of volume I was putting in on the weekends, which was good. I had a huge focus on my nutrition strategy as well, because that's normally where you can go really wrong on these multi-day events. Or so I read, so then I was just practicing eating loads of gels. So in training sessions, I'd have like upwards of 14, 15 gels just to practice so that I could stomach it on the days. Um, and then yeah, it was good. I mean, when I first arrived at the oat route, it was a little bit intimidating, I have to say, because again, it's like a pure cycling event. It's not. It's something very different to a normal triathlon. Um, and then I remember the first day was very hard. I think I got the strategy a bit wrong on the first stage. I treated it a bit like an Ironman and just went all out from the beginning, but I didn't really race tactically and drafting and whatnot. I was just hammering it. I kind of blew up towards the end, but I learned my lessons, and each day I was then able to improve across each day. By the last day, I felt really strong. Was flying around. So it was a really great event. Great people there. Great to meet all the different people from different countries, and it was pretty competitive as well. Like very high standard across the board.
Right. And why did you get into these things and Ironmans? Like, what did you wanted to get out of these?
I got into Ironman. My friend and I, we did a half marathon, and we thought we completed it, and it was great. Like I'd never done anything really like that before. I was always a runner, always quite fit and things, but not really a race. I absolutely loved it, you know, just the racing element of it. And after we finished that, we thought, all right, what's next? And the next step is normally you think is like a marathon, but we thought, no, look, everyone does a marathon. Let's do something a bit harder. So we thought, okay, how about this Ironman thing? We didn't really know what it was when we signed up to it properly. we signed up. It was about in 8 months' time. And then over that course of 8 months, we started to really learn what doing an Ironman was about. And that was like quite a transformation from being like just a runner who's like quite a fit person into completing an Ironman. But what it was about really was just kind of finding the next challenge. And normally when you have a new challenge that really tests you, you grow as an individual. And I'm always excited about those kinds of things. I'm sure you appreciate that in the stuff that you do.
Yeah, I personally do them for the mindset gains as well. I don't do them for finishing time or competitive at this point. It's just like the demon that always resurfaces and the conversation I have with that demon or how I meditated to sleep. Um, I always see like huge improvements in my self after these races. It trickles down in a couple of weeks after, but I'm just a better version of myself. I have easier time stacking good habits and removing bad habits after you've done like such an impressive feat, you know, like do you think the same? What kind of mental gains have you got from these?
think I think that one of the biggest mental gains is just like a lot of you have a lot of self-belief, especially after my first Ironman. That was a really big deal because I don't think I would have actually started a business if I didn't do an Ironman, actually thinking about it, because I completed it when I was like 24 and it was the most incredible experience of my life. I remember getting a finish line. I couldn't believe that you completed that huge distance, you know, and you know, I mean, you was done before you get a red carpet, and then you get to the end, and they say your name, like, "Oh, so you are an Iron Man." I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, if I can do that, I could do a lot of things, you know. And I thought, okay, what do I want? What do I actually want to do? I want to start a business. Well, then I'll do it in the same way that I've done this. I'm going to break it down, figure it out. I'll get through all the different challenges, etc., and I was able to then actually get started. So I find that is quite big. I think one of the things I do a lot of meditation as well, actually. But one of the things that I was trying to get through in the oat route, like mentally, was just being at peace with like suffering and being in a lot of pain all the time. Because you know, you for hours you're in pain basically. So that was kind of one thing that I wanted to improve on then, and that was more about like not trying to avoid the pain, but leaning into it and acceptance of the situation that you're in. So you're not annoyed that you're in this situation. You just accept it, and then you focus on what you can control and go from there. So that's kind of what I've more recently been looking at. But the first bit was more about the self-confidence, I think, was a really massive boost.
And how do you balance like the OCD in you that's all about preparation vs like the mishaps that happen during a race, like les imprévus and the things that you haven't planned? How do you deal with those in the moment?
Um, I think I I like to I like to be really present all the time. So beforehand, I try to do everything that I can do to make myself in the best shape possible to do the race, and also with the equipment and everything. Um, After that point, when I'm in a situation and it's not really going my way, I just think about what I can control in that time to help me get to where I need to get to. There's always a voice in your head that's saying, um, I don't know, like, you've done this wrong, you shouldn't have done this, what's this, whatever. This you should just ignore. Is just negative mental challenges. It's normal. It's just like, I think in meditation you call it like monkey mind. It's just like just random thoughts coming in. Is more about just thinking about, okay, what can I control in this situation? We are where we are. I can do this. Then you do it. You feel a bit better about it, and then that's how you gain momentum. I think that transfers to business quite a lot because stuff goes sideways all the time.
And what's your philosophy as a CEO when it comes to biohacking and investing as much in your health to optimize your mental performances?
I think health is absolutely essential. I think it's more for me is more important than anything. So I actually prioritize that before anything. Just having strong mental and physical health as best as I can, and then that then enables you to then perform at your best throughout whatever you want to do. I think that's really key. I don't know. Maybe there are some founders who kind of neglect their mental and physical health, but and I imagine maybe that might work for a few months or something because they can just work flat out. But after 3 4 years is going to go downhill, and it's really consistency that enables you to do well. If you can keep at it and stick at it, then you could do pretty much anything.
So, as a CEO this year, what kind of goals are you pursuing?
Um, looking to we're just driving more profit basically through our existing stores at the moment, and then there is some expansion strategy, but it's just really about driving profitability. So that's been really interesting and quite eye-opening, doing all the different bits of work in that. And like finding profit in different areas is just really, really interesting. When you look at a business and then you see how it's currently performing, and then you're looking, it's not just the top line you want to increase, you want to increase the bottom line. So you're looking at, okay, how we can do that, how we can play with different things, price sensitivity, all of this different stuff that is that ties into it. So that's essentially what we've been doing.
So, what was the sign that you had to focus on the profits, and how are you actually, cutting down, use less expenses? Like, where are you cutting at the moment to drive more profits?
The sign to focus on the profit, I think, is you you know you you need. I've seen many businesses that scale that have they're scaling it unprofitably, and there's some very very public ones, especially in the UK. There's one like Gorillas. They did one. They scaled quite unprofitably, like different businesses like this, basically. So you you basically don't want to do that. So I think the real sign for it is, okay, firstly the fundraising market's tightened, so then you need to become self-sustainable. That's really important. And I can see that happening at the end of 2023, sort of middle end of 2023. And then secondly is also just a performance improvement. Like, the more profitable you can make everything, the better, because that's ultimately that'll fundamentally drive your performance as a business. So it's kind of those two things that you look at, and that's kind of the sign that you need to start focusing on the profitability.
How did the business survive COVID?
We started during COVID. So, and it was pretty tricky. We had to raise funding while we were in a pandemic, which is quite challenging. Yeah, I go on
Only
the
an Ironman can go through that.
I go on the calls with it thing with investors. We would go on, and they would be like they'd ask us, like, you're a software business, be like, no, we're making physical stores, and you could hear just silence. You could hear a pin drop.
Or them
That was
citing like,
pretty, yeah. And they'll be like, "Who came up with this idea? Was it you?" It's like, oh, you know.
Oh
But that
man,
that you just had to be perseverance through that. Like, I think we contacted like 600 different investors. We got one, but you only really need one. So, yeah, just have
definitely someone that can see the light through the tunnel, or can see the
yeah,
potential in you, right? Which is a very good decision. I would bet a lot of money on endurance athletes.
yeah. No, I think there's something in that. Um, because we also started our first store just when the lockdown lifted, which was good in as much as like everyone needed a haircut at that time. So our first week was just completely packed. But afterwards, because the bars, clubs, all of these different things weren't open, it was completely dead. There was no reason for people to get a haircut. So it was quite a difficult time, and there was a hell of a lot of learning just from a retail standpoint, how to increase demand, what that actually looks like. It's very scary because as when you first open it, you don't know the different levers, like what you can do, what you can't do. So that was a very stressful time, because you've kind of raised some money in, you're you've got a burn rate, so your money's going down, but also your revenue's not really going up. That you've got to figure out like how to actually work this thing.
What do you foresee for your business in the future? Like, could I get my haircut by a robot soonish?
I don't think robot haircuts are anywhere in the near future. I think for this business in the future, the goal has got to be to further scale out and really develop a brand name, like a recognizable brand is really important. And I think the only way we do that is by providing really good value for money, which is basically what we've been trying to do the whole time. So you got to be really smart with the quality that you're delivering, the training, all of these different things.
Interesting. Well, Oz, thank you so much for today. The value you've added. Where can people find out more about you?
You can find out more about me on LinkedIn under Oz Oboh, or can look us up or visit one of our stores, www.cutbox.co.uk.